Story is the Ivory Cup. Before sunup, one spring morning, a troop of fairies went to the meadow to gather their morning dew. The fairies flew through the forest, swoosh, swoosh, playing hide and seek with one another behind the ferns, behind the blades of grass, as they danced on the moonbeams. But as they came closer and closer to the meadow, they could hear a hiss and a roar coming from the meadow. Not knowing what it was, they hid behind the leaves, and they hung up their ivory cups, and they crept closer and closer to see what was going on. And in the middle of the meadow was a young knight battling a dragon. And this was a huge beast with its webbed wings that fanned at the scorching breath, and its tail whipped through the air with its thorns on its end. And the knight was wounded. He had blood running through his armor, and his face and his hands were scorched. And he was exhausted as he fell to his knees. But he looked up, and he saw the dragon swooping around, and he knew that he was coming for his final attack. And with all of his might, he thrust himself up and put both hands on his sword, and he plunged it through the dragon's heart. As the dragon fell to the ground, there was a huge wave of sound that went through the forest. But that was not all that fell. The knight fell to the ground unconscious. The fairies, not knowing what to do, came creeping out of the forest. And they came around the young knight as his breath was uneven, and he was slowly dying. And the fairies knew if they did not do anything, he would die. So they quickly picked up their ivory cups, and they flew faster than the speed of light, whoosh, whoosh, through the forest to a spring. And in that spring held the water of life. And each fairy went to the spring and filled up their cup. And they flew back, whoosh, whoosh, once again to the young knight's side. And they put a single drop from the cup onto the young knight's lips. Then they hung up their cups once more on the blades of grass, and they watched as the knight stirred and his breath became more even, and he licked his lips of the water of life. Imagine licking water of life. And he stirred, but all of a sudden there was a noise from the forest, and it was the villagers coming to see if their champion had survived the raid of the dragon. And the fairies quickly fled to the forest, leaving their ivory cups behind. But a wonderful thing happened as the sun rose and shined onto the ivory cups. They became permanently attached to the blades of grass, this creating the flower that we know as the lilies of the valley. And each spring we can see these flowers around the forest where the young knight survived. And this is in memory of what the fairies did that day. And the wonderful scent of the water of life is strong, and it lingers each and every day. The end.
Yay!